Morgen, herzlich willkommen beim heutigen Webinar unter dem Motto Mehr als nur Essen, die Bedeutung von Branding und Design in der Gastronomie von heute. Mein Name ist Reanne Löning und ich freue mich sehr, dass ich Sie heute durch das Webinar führen darf. Im täglichen Leben bin ich in der Außenwirtschaft Austria tätig. Das ist die Internationalisierungs- und Innovationsagentur der Wirtschaftskammer Österreich. Innerhalb der Außenwirtschaft Austria bin ich für die Internationalisierung der Kreativwirtschaft zuständig. Kurz zusammengefasst heißt das, dass wir österreichische Unternehmen aus Design und Interieur, aus Mode, Musik, Film, Kunst, Kultur, Architektur und PR und Werbung dabei unterstützen, wenn sie ihre Produkte und Dienstleistungen exportieren möchten. Zu diesem Zweck haben wir einerseits ein sehr umfangreiches Förderprogramm mit den sogenannten Internationalisierungschecks, die von Unternehmen beantragt werden können. Und andererseits organisieren wir sehr viele Veranstaltungen im In- und im Ausland. Und diese Kreativwirtschafts-Webinarreihe ist Teil unseres Angebotes. Wir setzen diese Reihe gemeinsam mit unseren Kolleginnen der Kreativwirtschaft Austria oder kurz KAT um. Die KAT ist ebenfalls Teil der Wirtschaftskammer Österreich und hat ein sehr umfangreiches Angebot an Serviceleistungen. Einerseits, um österreichische Kreativunternehmen beim wirtschaftlichen Erfolg zu unterstützen und dies zu fördern. Und andererseits auch, um die branchenübergreifende Kooperation zu fördern. Ein dritter Fokus hat die Sichtbarmachung der Kreativwirtschaftsleistungen. Wir setzen diese Kreativwirtschaftsreihe seit 1,5 Jahre um und berichten 5 bis 6 Mal im Jahr aus Kreativwirtschafts-Hotspots der Welt. Dieses Mal aus den Food-Metropolen Manila und Kopenhagen. Ziel dieser Reihe ist, um Innovationen, innovative Ideen, Konzepte, Produkte und Geschäftsmodelle zu Ihnen nach Österreich zu bringen, damit Sie die Möglichkeit haben, diese kennenzulernen und sich damit auseinanderzusetzen und diese idealerweise auch für das eigene Geschäft einzusetzen. Heute werden wir uns mit Branding und Design in der Gastronomie beschäftigen. Und Sie werden sehen, dass die Gastronomie derzeit sehr viel experimentiert, sehr viele neue Produkte und Services ausprobiert und dass die Personen, also die Players in der Szene sich gegenseitig auch inspirieren mit Kreativkonzepten und innovative Konzepte. Vielleicht noch kurz zum Ablauf dieses Webinars. Nach meiner Einführung werde ich das Wort meiner Kollegin Cosima Steiner übergeben. Cosima ist die österreichische Wirtschaftsdelegierte für Dänemark in Kopenhagen und sie wird uns einen kurzen Überblick über die lokale Kreativ- und Gastronomie-Szene geben. Danach übergibt sie das Wort Philipp Inreiter. Philipp Inreiter kommt ursprünglich aus Oberösterreich und hat sehr viele, sehr vielseitige Erfahrungen in Japan sowie in den Kopenhagener Flagships von den weltbekannten Restaurants Noma und Relais sammeln können. Und aktuell ist er Inhaber des sehr innovativen Konzeptes Ramian Joint. Und er wird uns Einblicke in seine Erfolgsgeschichte und seine Geschäftsidee gönnen und über die Hintergründe dazu erzählen. Nach dem Beitrag aus Dänemark reisen wir weiter nach nach Manila, Entschuldigung, wo die österreichische Wirtschaftsdelegierte für die Philippinen, Christina Stieber, uns einiges über den philippinischen Markt erzählen wird. Und danach wird Roel Chun übernehmen, der Vizepräsident Operations von der Taste Food Group ist, die innovative Konzepte für Gastronomie entwickeln und die schon sehr viele Projekte in den Philippinen umgesetzt haben. Bevor wir jetzt wirklich losstarten, vielleicht noch ein paar praktische Hinweise. Das Webinar wird teilweise auf Englisch stattfinden und es wird aufgezeichnet. Und wir werden Ihnen in circa 1 bis 2 Wochen den YouTube-Link zur Aufzeichnung sowie die Präsentationen der Vortragenden zukommen lassen, damit Sie sich alles nochmals in Ruhe ansehen können. Falls Sie während des Webinars schon Fragen haben, dann können Sie diese im Chatfenster stellen und wir werden diese dann in der interaktiven Diskussionsrunde nach dem Vortragen, das wird in circa einer Stunde sein, beantworten. Also zögern Sie bitte nicht und stellen Sie Ihre Fragen. Also ich freue mich jetzt schon sehr auf das Webinar und übergebe jetzt gleich meine Kollegin Cosima. Und ich wünsche Ihnen ein interessantes und inspirierendes Webinar und bis später.
Ja, vielen lieben Dank, Rianne, und ein gut gelauntes Guten Morgen oder einfach nur Hi aus Kopenhagen. Wir machen auch jetzt kurze Einführung in deutscher Sprache, weil sowohl Philipp Inreiter als auch ich aus Österreich kommen, aber Philipp wird danach seine Präsentation in englischer Sprache weiterführen, damit wir auch gut mit den Kolleginnen und Kollegen in Manila diskutieren können. Ja, Philipp, du bist gebürtiger Oberösterreicher und hast 2017 hier in Kopenhagen die Slurp Rahmenbar eröffnet, bist Mitbegründer, Mitbesitzer und natürlich auch Headchef in einem sehr innovativen Konzept, das aus der Kopenhagener Gastroszene eigentlich nicht mehr wegzudenken ist. Und Kopenhagen ist ja Kreativhub und hat sich ja sicher auch aufgrund dieses ganzen kreativen Spirits in den letzten 10 bis 15 Jahren auch als zu einem der Zentren für Gastro- und Food-Trends entwickelt. Zuletzt erhielten nicht weniger als 17 Restaurants 22 Michelin-Sterne, was bei einer doch überschaubaren Größe der Stadt ja durchaus ein großer Erfolg ist. 2 der weltbesten Restaurants sitzen in Kopenhagen und es hat ja auch die Nordic Cuisine hier seinen Ausgang genommen. Und das Ganze hat natürlich ein Ökosystem mit sich gezogen, wo es Innovation und Weiterentwicklung auf allen Ebenen gibt. Auf der einen Seite wird Internationalität mit Regionalität verbunden, auch Tradition mit Moderne. Das sieht man ja auch genau bei eurem Konzept. Saisonalität ist gefragt. Es werden auch neue Restaurantkonzepte ausprobiert. Durchaus auch bekannte Dinge, die also wirklich über hunderte Jahre schon Tradition haben, neu interpretiert. Ich denke da vor allem an gemeinschaftliches Essen, wo sich dann Leute auch auf einem großen Tisch gemeinsam bei demselben Menü, das sie essen, kennenlernen. Auf der anderen Seite auch wieder die Trends zum Private Dining und so weiter und so fort. Und natürlich sind auch, wer in Kopenhagen schon mal war, weiß, dass also die Streetfood-Märkte, die teilweise auch wirklich in ganz abgeschiedenen Bezirken entstehen und dann wirklich zu einem richtigen Buzz in diesem Bezirk sorgen. Also die sind nicht mehr aus der Szene und aus dem Stadtbild hier wegzudenken. Branding, Marketing, Design haben natürlich sehr stark dazu beigetragen, dass die Kopenhagener Szene sich auch international so gut positionieren konnte. Wichtig auch, es ist also ein enges Netzwerk, recht engmaschig, man kennt einander, man kollaboriert, man arbeitet gemeinsam und es geht nicht nur darum, um den eigenen Erfolg zu pushen, natürlich ist das auch sehr wichtig, aber es geht auch darum, grundsätzlich zusammenzuhelfen und die Szene gemeinsam hier auch international bekannt zu halten. Food Tourism, mittlerweile auch ein sehr, sehr wichtiger Faktor, eben allein dadurch, dass auch die Szene so gut versteht, sich international zu positionieren und auch auf der Social Media Klaviatur natürlich sehr, sehr gut spielt, ist Food Tourism ein ganz wesentlicher Bestandteil auch geworden mittlerweile, damit diese Gastroszene einfach auch erfolgreich ist und erfolgreich bleibt. Und auch untereinander ist es so, dass die einzelnen Lokale sehr gerne Empfehlungsmanagement betreiben. Das ist nicht nur Word of Mouth, sondern durchaus auch über Instagram und die anderen Kanäle, die es so gibt. Soll heißen, wichtig natürlich auch immer, dass man ein Lokal designmäßig gut präsentiert, dass man auch die Speisen gut präsentiert, sodass die Influencerinnen und Influencer und Touristinnen und Touristen einfach schnell ein Foto machen können und das posten und natürlich dann noch mehr Credibility erzeugen für wirklich die Qualität und die Innovativität der Szenen. Aber das ist auch schon von mir, weil der Experte sitzt neben mir, der wird einfach mehr erzählen. Philipp ist ja Foodie seit Geburt. Du hast, glaube ich, mit 6 Jahren angefangen zu kochen, wie der Mythos es sagt. Hast, wie gesagt, wie Rianne schon erwähnt hat, in Top-Lokalen in Dänemark gearbeitet, warst aber eine Zeit lang in Japan, wo du in einem der Top-Ramen-Joints nicht nur die Liebe, sondern auch die Kenntnis hinter Rahmen gefunden hast oder gelernt hast und hast die Konzepte dann und das Wissen zurückgebracht nach Kopenhagen und in wirklich guter Kopenhagener Manier etwas ganz Neues, Innovatives eröffnet. Somit freue ich mich sehr, etwas mehr über deinen Werdegang, über deine Erfolgsgeschichte zu hören, aber natürlich auch über deinen Einblick, über den Erfolg der Kopenhagener Szene, wie sie arbeitet, wie auch eben Branding, Marketing und dergleichen hier angewendet wird. Ich bewege mich in Kürze aus dem Bild, bin ganz am Ende wieder mit dabei, dann wie gesagt in englischer Sprache bei den Q&As, wünsche in der Zwischenzeit wirklich 2 sehr, sehr interessante Präsentationen und darf nur am Ende noch ein paar Worte in eigener Sache sagen. Wir machen gemeinsam mit der Bundessparte Tourismus und Freizeitwirtschaft Ende November eine Zukunftsreise Post-New Nordic, Gastro- und Food Trends in Kopenhagen, wo Sie sich auch persönlich vor Ort ein Bild machen können und natürlich auch mit Expertinnen und Experten sprechen können, wie unter anderem auch Philipp Inreiter. So, in der Zwischenzeit wünsche ich ja gute Unterhaltung auch, muss man sicher sagen, und wir sehen einander später wieder.
Thanks, Cosima. Thanks for the introduction. Happy to be here. I just want to give you guys today like a quick run through on where do I come from. What's my story and what am I breaking on right now? So as Cosimo was saying already, it's like started all very early when I was 6 years old. I had the great privilege that both grandparents had a farm, and I spent a lot of time there. They had animals, they had all different herbs, they had their own woods, and it was incredible. Just like running around, being able to like taste all these different things. My grandmother, she was an amazing chef. My mom, in fact, not really, but she still cooked well for us every day because she thought it was important. However, though, I didn't come from a gastronomic family at all. I just always had just this curiosity of like exploring and like trying different things. And so when I was 10 years old, there was like a boy choir, and I wasn't really a good singer. In fact, I was actually bad, but I heard there's a boy choir that travel the world. They go to Japan, they go to China, they go to Russia. And I thought, this is incredible. This is exactly what I want. So I applied for this boy choir. I tried to become a bit of a better singer. I was telling my parents, I want to go there. So I stayed, we traveled to Mexico, Thailand, US, India. And all of a sudden I was exposed to all these incredible flavors I never had before, and which it just want me to have more. So after my time at the St. Florida Singerknaben, I realized, all right, food is what I want to do, or like working with food is what I want to do. And to become really, to get a better understanding in it, I need to start out as a chef. So I made an apprentice in Upper Austria at a place called Weindelhof, spent 3 years there, and right after that, I thought where to learn better, more exciting things than Denmark. Because at the time, Noma was one of the best restaurants, everybody was talking about it. I tried my luck as well at in New York, but I couldn't afford it, staying there, working there, and also paying rent. So I decided for Noma. I had no idea what Denmark was about. I had no idea. I've never been to Copenhagen, but I heard about this place. I wrote an application, said, sure, come by, check it out. So I did. I came up here. It was my first experience abroad, living abroad, and it was incredible. It was amazing. It was insanely busy, but there was so much going on. You had 60, some of the best chefs from around the world, out of 26 to 30 different nationalities. So all of a sudden, here I am, this country boy in middle of Copenhagen, working one of the best restaurants, being exposed to like all these incredible new flavors again. It blew my mind. And I spent some time there, and I got really excited. I had all this energy, this passion, and like then you shared all of a sudden with like 50, 60 other people. And I thought, all right, that's cool, but I want to do my own thing. So a little after, I went back to Denmark, back to Austria. And we started a few different businesses. But the first one here in the picture, we have my good friend Lars on the right side. He's from Denmark. He was a sommelier at the time at Noma. And back then, my friend Agnes and we decided to do like a private dining club in Austria. So we collaborated with like different, with Botsaup and other small places, and made small dinners, 20 courses, 15 different wines, and we had a blast. It was incredible. Obviously, we didn't make any money whatsoever, because all of you who have ever tried to like organize events or do something once know that like at the end of the day, there's not much money left. It's all for the passion. But that was fine. We had fun, and that was all that counted. So right after that, we thought, inspired from Denmark, there's no good coffee in Austria. We got to change this. We started a coffee roastery, and I thought, well, I'm a chef. How hard can it be, like roasting some beans? Little did I know it actually is way more difficult than you think it is. So we built our own roaster. I tried to roast some coffee. It was terrible. It was really not good. My grandmother, however, she still loved it and she bought some, but you can't base a business on, you know, the sales from your grandmother. So we decided to sell all our coffee. A little disappointed, thought, well, whatever, I'll just gonna move on and I want to explore Japan. Because back at Nome already, we had a lot of Japanese influences. So I thought, all right, I want to go to the source. I want to know where it's coming from. So I wrote an application to these guys at Ryugin. Ryugin is a 3-star Michelin star in Roppongi and considered to be one of the best restaurants in Japan. So I flew over there. I've never been to Japan, but it was mind-blowing. I've never seen anything like it. There's so much good food you can't imagine. I probably assume some of you guys have been to Japan. It's outrageous. So here I am in this Japanese restaurant, full on traditional. They got 3 stars. It's called kaiseki cuisine. So that just means it's a multi-course menu. And all of a sudden I was working with all these Japanese chefs. Nobody speaks English, of course. I didn't speak very well Japanese either. None, in fact. And I was introduced to all these different Japanese techniques. It was completely different from back in Europe, the way they work, the way they act, like everything around it. But it was insane. It was incredible. I really, really enjoyed it. And there I got introduced the first time while working at Ryugin, as it normally goes, 3-4 in the morning after a long shift. I went out, had a bowl of ramen. Really enjoyed it. Didn't think much about it at the time, but still, however, I really enjoyed it and thought maybe I should do this one day. But after Japan, I thought and decided I want to go back to Denmark. I want to work at one more restaurant, which was on my list, which was Relay. And Relay, what they do, they have their own farm. They have some of the greatest products. It's all organic. And I just wanted to work there for a little while and see how they run the kitchen and just get a better understanding in general. So I was working there for a while, but like this feeling inside of me of like opening up my own place and doing my own business again, just it didn't go away. It was always with me. And like wherever I was working, it was nice and I learned a whole bunch of things I'm incredibly grateful for, but it wasn't satisfying. So after that, I decided I gotta start something on my own again. So somewhat by chance, I met my partner on a night out. Like we had some tacos and we talked about the fact like he wanted to open something, but he needed a chef, and I wanted to open something, but I needed money. So we said, well, you know, here we are. That seems to be a perfect match. Let's just do it. So we met up and said, you know, I had ramen back in Japan, and he also had an idea of like a food truck, and he was thinking about ramen. I said, well, you know what, like let's do a ramen shop. Let's do it here in Copenhagen. I have no idea about it, but I'm sure I can learn. So we sat together. I brought the third guy on board, Salmon, a good friend of mine. He was working in consulting before, so was helping us with the whole business part of things. And we discussed it. We went to Japan. We went again to the States and did some research, and Slurp Ramen Joint was born. So right after that, the entire idea with Slurp Ramen Joint really was just that we wanted to bring great ramen to Denmark, which we wanted to eat ourselves, which was a very special style, light broths, thin noodles, and clean flavors, but with a Danish influence, like with Danish ingredients, but still Japanese techniques. That was the entire idea. That was the product. This is what we wanted to do. And now, since these days food is not enough, just like being a good chef or like making good food, it gets you that far. But what really sets you apart at the end of the day, in my belief, is you gotta have a great brand. Brands become more and more important, and especially the way how you approach them. Like restaurants, going out to eat is a lifestyle. It's not just like going out to eat because you're hungry. You go out to eat because you want to be, you want to have sort of a part of this, like you want to be part of this place. You want to experience it. It's about an experience. And so we thought about, well, ramen, it's street style, it's pretty cool. So the brand equivalent needs to be, it needs to represent it. So was heavily inspired by like a lot of fashion brands like Stussy or like Ape or with the 100s, which they're all like, they have this energy, this young rebels, you want to change something, want to do something cool. And somehow this was the idea what we tried to do with Slurp as well. So we had incredible brand designers which were helping us, Iron Flag here from Denmark. And as some of you might know, like Danish people are just very good when it comes to aesthetics, branding, and all of that. So we worked with them, and we had this guy from Japan, Hisashi Okaba, which helped us to like design some mascots, which you see here in the picture. This is Norman. And that really helped us to like kind of make it all a bit more playful, and also people kind of recognize it. Oh, it's like this dog. They didn't know ramen, but like they recognized the dog. So it really helped us to have this mascot. And obviously the next thing is you got to source great ingredients. You got to make sure you have the best stuff you can possibly have. And then also, most important, you got to have a great team. And here in Denmark, you have some of the greatest chefs, as said. They all come to work at Noma, and then for some reason they hang around. And it's a beautiful city, so people want to live here. There's so many great restaurants. There's so much talent. There's so much energy. So from day one, we really were able to like gather a bunch of cool people, all from different backgrounds. Here in the picture, you can see going from right, we got Kasia from Poland, Yuki from Japan, George, he was from Argentina back there. Nias, he was from Ireland, and we had some friends from Japan visiting. So you get the picture, it's very international. And that different influences really helped us as well to like create a new, unique restaurant. So after we had all these ingredients, brands, ingredients, team all together, we opened up. And soon after, we have been very lucky to be in like the city like Copenhagen, where people are curious, they want to try and explore different foods. We got a lot of awards and a lot of exposure, which was great for us and really like boosted us from day one, and business was going well. And since you got to keep it interesting, we did a lot of different collaborations. So we brought chefs in from Japan, did a pop-up with them. We brought chefs in from Denmark. We brought like old friends of mine, which I used to work in other restaurants with in. And they made their own ramen, and it's just, we obviously still do this. This is a core part of our business to say, we don't want to do the same thing every day, but we rather mix it up and bring other people in and get inspired by them and like collaborate with them, because out of it, something way more unique and way more fun comes. So I just want to play a quick video of our Instagram feed, because Instagram is like a crucial part of our business. I think that's the same for a lot of other restaurants, our business in general, that you have such a great tool. It's such a great tool for you, which is for free, and you have this incredible exposure. You can put stuff on it, and you can really create your own image. How should people see you? So therefore, Instagram for us is crucial. So yeah, if we just run through now, you can see we start out like just guiding people through this journey. So we took them really by the hand before we even open up the restaurants. We tried to explore them like, hey, we go to Japan, we source the best ingredients for you. We go there, we get like some nice bowls from this producer, and just really wanted to make sure that people feel that they're part of this journey. So you not just consume, but you're part of it. And that's, I think, the most important part in like the way we communicated and also like we marketed our restaurants. It's like, you are one of us. You knew us before we even opened, and you waited for the day we opened. So that also then meant that when we did finally open, it was a queue. There were people outside, and it was crazy. We were overwhelmed by the support we got, and that is really nice. But right after that, like opening up Slurp ramen joints, being in restaurants, and doing all of that, it's fun. But you also got to think about the business side of things, and there it becomes less fun. Like running restaurants on a high level with a lot of stuff and the best ingredients, and like buying your bowls from here and there. Again, it's fun, but we really realized the way we run them, it hasn't much changed over the last, I don't know, 10, 20, 50, 100 years. It's very outdated. It's very old school, the way we operate them and the way we use technology in restaurants as well. So a bit frustrated, we decided we need to change it. We need to we need to build something that enables us to run a better, more efficient small business, not just restaurant. So out of that, the idea was born, let's start a restaurant technology company, and let's change that. So the idea was relatively simple. Our company was called Informal, and as you see in the picture to the right, you got restaurants, to the left you got technology. Technology really is just a tool, and we try to be somewhere in the middle to say we want to facilitate, we want to be this, we want to connect those two things. We want to use technology and try to, again, enable restaurateurs to run better small businesses. It was three of us, one of my co-founders from Slurp, Salmon, the guy I mentioned earlier, and then a third one, Matthias Holzmann, who came from technology, was living in the Valley for several years. He was part of Mapbox, it's a huge mapping company, and started some businesses on his own in Hong Kong. And we rented some space in Refsaloon. We got together and worked incredible hard for a full year and tried, how do we do this? So our best assumption was we start out to like build prototype restaurants in a space and then see how would technology change things. And this all sounds not quite abstract, but to keep it short, what we did was just build like this workshop where we tried to experiment and like bring different architects in, different tech people in, different chefs in, and try to bring them all together to see where are the real problems and how do we solve them and what are the low-hanging fruits. It was a lot of back and forth, and as any new company, any new startup, you always have like a lot of problems, of course, because that's why you start out, to solve a problem. We all came from very different backgrounds, and soon after we decided that we all had a bit of a different idea, like how we want to push this idea forward, that we will push it on our own, in our own ways. Since one of the guys moved back to New York, Matthias, the other guy, Salmon, he started working on this HR tool. Now myself, I stepped back into Slurp to get again a bit more hands-on experience and work actually in the restaurant and see where we're at, because I wanted to see how we evolved. Also, like I stepped out from the restaurant for a year to like work on this Informal company, but not to come back to it. So Informal, we decided to like close down the way we started it, and now we're just pushing it in different directions. But we still work with the same idea of like, how do we change restaurants for the better, for the future? So right now, I said, we open up this restaurant, we start this technology company, and we now think about, well, so what's next? What are we gonna do? And if it comes to it, you can have all the technology you want. At the end of the day, it's a people's business. It's a business about how do you make people feel? If you come to a restaurant, you want to feel special. You want to have an experience. And that's what I'm thinking about lately, late at night, throughout the day, over and over again. What are future restaurants? How do we run them and how they're different? Like being in Denmark and being exposed to Noma, to Cadeau, to Amas, you name it, to all these incredible restaurants, Noma, they start something completely different back then, like 10, 15 years ago. And now they have, this restaurant has been open for 15 years, they just reopen again. And the question is like, what is the next thing? What's happening next? What is the next big innovation? And I clearly, obviously don't have an answer yet, but I really try to find out. So to sum it all up now, this is what we're working right now. What is the future of food? What is the future of restaurants? What does it bring? And what is next for us? And if you guys have some input, especially later in your questions, please let me know as well what you guys think, how we should shape the future and how we should change the future as well of restaurants. But that's it really for now from me. Thank you very much for listening. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you.
Hello, everybody from Manila. It's currently rainy season and it's raining outside, but we're gonna keep you warm and cozy with all that's happening here in Manila in the restaurant scene. And just a brief overview before I hand over to Roel, and I got to give you a brief introduction to Roel Chun. Manila is home to 16 to 20 million people. It's the Philippines are a country of 110 million people, rising population, rising living standards, and a population that is very keen on food. It goes by saying, for example, when you greet someone in Filipino, you usually say, "Have you eaten?" which gives you an idea that it's all about food, and food is important, and where you eat is important, and what you eat is important. And so in order to feed 16 million people in Manila alone and 110 million people in the Philippines, and a population that is getting richer and richer, you have to be unusual. You have to come up with concepts that are not mainstream. You have to make your mark on the scene here. And one of the companies that certainly did make a mark here is the Tasteless Food Group. Tasteless. It's called Tasteless. And the name as such is already part of their concept. And Roel, he's the Vice President for Operations of the Tasteless Food Group, will tell you a bit about where they're coming from, what their concept is, and how they actually enter the market, what they perceive as making a mark here in the Philippines, in Manila, on the restaurant scene. Roel, as such, is now the Vice President for Operations of the Tasteless Group, but Roel has a Bachelor in Biology, but then also a Master's in Integrated Marketing Communications, graduated from business school. He also worked as a paralegal, so his background is very broad and very varied. But he's also, for his young age, recipient of several awards, among which is the Young Market Masters Award for top marketing achievers below the age of 35. And he was also a grand winner of the InnoLab Startup Studio for the Best Tech Hub Startup Concept. And from technology, the Tasteless Food and his business partner, Charles Pau, who unfortunately cannot be present today, as a tech company, they went into food. And I'm very curious to hear how they did that. And I'm very much looking forward to the presentation Roel is going to give us and showcase you what the Philippines have to offer when it comes to restaurants. It's a bit of an odd shot, but we'll try to woo you nevertheless and make it interesting for you. So Roel, it's all up to you, and taste this. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Christina. Thank you for that introduction. We are very honored to be part of this webinar. And as Christina mentioned, we are from Tasteless Food Group, quite a unique name for a restaurant, but I have a perfectly good explanation for that. So we are, first of all, we are founded by a serial entrepreneur based in Manila, Mr. Charles Pau, who is very shy as well. So the only photo that I can get of him is an illustration that I asked our artist to do. And he also was on the cover of the F&B report, one of the prominent industry magazine in the Philippines, for our work in one of our food hall. It's unfortunate that Charles cannot join us, but allow me to share with you as much learnings that I can provide to our viewers, and hope you pick one or two lessons from our lessons in this side of the world. So Tasteless, as the name would tell you, we have no taste in terms of us being no bias in terms of flavor. We believe that flavor, we believe that in the restaurant scene, flavor is relative. It would depend on the culture, it will depend on the timing, on the season. It will depend largely on the trend, on even a lot of social stimulus that's affecting the type of flavor that the market wanted. So when we created the restaurant group, we look into sharing the type of cuisine that will depend on what's the prevailing trend. But then again, there's a thin line between innovation and gimmicks. We don't have to be loud. We don't have to be fancy and trendy. What we intend to do is to provide a true innovation that would create a new market, a new opportunity. The word innovation is not much used in the industry in F&B, but just to share with you, part of the business of Mr. Pao is in the gadgets retailing. And in gadgets retailing, we represent brands like Apple, Fitbit, Marshalls. So we have about 80 stores in the Philippines that's doing that. So as you can imagine, our um, business idols are in the Silicon Valley, and the type of mentality that we acquire is the startup innovation mentality. That's why you can see a lot of that words coming out even as we move into the restaurant business. Tasteless is about 8-year old. We're not that we're new, relatively new as against our main competitors here in Manila, but we're growing very fast. In the group, we have 15 unique concepts. Um, this is all these are all active concepts. Not everything we do turns into gold. Some of the concepts that we've opened also close. There among the 15 concepts that actively operating right now, 10 of which are original creations, and to date, we have 49 branches operational. By the end of the year, we should be ending with about 52, 53 branches, depends on whether we can open it on time. So we are in a way a factory of concepts. There's a lot of innovative thinking, a lot of trials and error for us to truly capture what the prevailing demand is in the market right now. And what I'm going to share with you is that phase of pre-operations, that phase of when we imagine, when we decide, how we conceptualize the concepts that we have. Uh, this is just a few of the concepts that we have out of the 15 that we actively have right now. You can divide it into three. We have the franchise concepts, which we represent from a principal, a foreign principal. Hanamaru-ken is our ramen chain that comes from Osaka. We are the only operator of the brand outside of Japan, actually outside of Osaka. They have around 50 stores in Osaka, but there's not even one store in Tokyo, so they're very much regional. But because Charles is a fan of the brand, he has been courting the brand for 5 years, and by sheer insistence, he was able to get the brand, the founder, to trust us. So we are the only Hanamaru-ken chain store outside of Osaka right now. And also Pizza Express. As you know, it's a UK brand. We started Pizza Express around 2 years ago. We are on our third location right now. Pizza is a very competitive segment, but we admire how this group operated on such scale and on such efficiency. So partnering with them helps us learn, and at the same time, we're able to deliver the same working philosophy for Pizza Express to also make its mark on our part of the globe. The second group is food hall concepts. Tasteless Food Group is actually known more locally for our food halls. We have two food halls that's actively operating right now. The third food hall should be open before the end of the year. The food hall, I'm not sure on your side, on your country, whether you also have food halls, but essentially it's like a food court. It's like a big cafeteria But of course, we level it up to the next level. We are mainly operating into a mid and premium scale and premium concepts. Later, I will talk more about the food hall concepts and why it's in a way very efficient for us in the Philippines. And of course, the standalone concepts, this is just a few of the original concepts we have. We have Scout's Honor, which started as a cookie shop, and now it's a full dining restaurant. We have chicken restaurant, fried chicken, umami chicken restaurant, Bad Bird, which is Philippines is a chicken country, so we love chickens here. From Bad Bird, we have Foul Bread, which is a sandwich, a chicken sandwich shop. Le Petit Soufflé is a French-Japanese fusion that we had as part of our concept for the last 5 years already. And Wrong Ramen, which is one of the cases that I will present to you later. It's an interesting case study for us. Where we would be able to articulate to you our train of thoughts and our thought processes. And the other logo with the purple there that you see is it's a coffee, donut and coffee shop. We call it Poison Coffee and Donut. Okay, so that's about us. And let me jump onto my topic, which is beyond flavors. When we started with the gadgets, we opened the restaurants out of passion. We are not a restaurateur. We are an outsider. My partner, Charles Pao, our CEO, is not a chef, but we're able to break through because we somehow think differently. We think beyond the traditional way of setting up a restaurant. We think beyond flavors, and we're looking at different dimensions on how to create a successful restaurant business. To share with you, we have a 3-pillar of restaurant strategy. This is when we create our restaurant. So first, of course, is great flavor. I think every restaurateur will talk about great flavor. It's already given. You cannot build a restaurant without a great flavor. And the second part is impactful experience. We just don't eat with our mouth, with our stomach, but we eat with our eyes. And there's a lot of sensory organ that we can tap to fully create that experience that our customers would enjoy, and it would make it memorable for them. But the third pillar is not common among the philosophy of a restaurateur, is solutions, creating and offering solutions for the customer. This is where our background in startup, in the gadget industry comes into play. The mindset here is creating solutions for pain points, addressing certain pain points. We believe that the conversation in what will make a restaurant relevant and unique should not stop in just creating great flavors and creating an ambience that's impactful, but we have to have a sense of relevance to the needs of the customer. I'll talk about these 3, and there would be case studies later that I'll share with you how we have applied this philosophy in our thinking. So first is great flavor, as I've said, is almost mandatory. I wouldn't talk a lot about this, but of course, if you don't have great flavor, if you don't have the right food, the right ingredients, and the right chef cooking it, then might not as well not go into the restaurant business. In as much as, of course, the chef is the heart and soul of each of every restaurant, especially for us, where we create a lot of concept, where we try to be innovative as much as possible. They're the center of everything that we do. They have big roles as well beyond creating menu. They have big roles in operations. They have big roles in profitability. But the point of our discussion here also is to think beyond beyond the chef. When you build a restaurant, it's almost automatic that you think about who's the chef or who's the cook or what's on the menu. But don't stop there. And that's the lesson that we learned, that you have to go beyond it. So I'm going to the second point. It's all about the experience. So now that you have your food ready, now that you have a great flavor in the table, you have to extend it with experience. But how we do it is something different. And I think this would tell a lot about our commitment in design and on branding. We are one of the few restaurant group that's actually creating concept together with an agency. But it's not just us commissioning a branding agency to create our inspiration to creation, but we actually own the agency. Part of the business of the group to support the restaurant and the marketing of the retail is to create a boutique agency. Hydra Design Group was created together with 4 other boutique agency that's part of that does graphic design, animation, interior design, and as you can see, the 5 names here, the Ink Surge, KM Interior, Plus 63, and the Acid House, they're all boutique agency. And then suddenly you have a restaurant operations group, Tasteless. Hard to explain for some people, but I hope you can see the relevance here. Let me share with you a small video clip. So this is our headquarter for the restaurant group. And this is, we have a coffee shop, the donut coffee shop inside our small office space together with the boutique agency. And this is an AR project that they have done. Part of the agency is we have a boutique animation agency that created this for us. Okay. This is just a short video. And right past the donut shop is a door going into the offices where we are, where all of this agency creative team is located. So it's 4 agency. We have a Plus 63, Ink Surge, KM Interior Design, the Acid House, and the 5th company within the Hydra Design Group is actually Tasteless. We do projects beyond our own use, beyond our own business. We do projects also for other groups, for other industry. But that's one example of how far we go beyond integrating design. It's not just commissioning. We actually have it as part of our business model, as part of our internal processes. So after the design, later the case study, you would see the application of the design group. But going on my third point, it's about the solutions. When we create concepts, when we think about concepts, we look into what pain points we are trying to solve. We learn that for every concept, at every different location, fills a certain need. We could have two same concept in 2 different location and serve 2 different market profile. So having that information, being driven by insights on what the consumer wanted, on what's the need and what's the pain point, what role do we have as a restaurant, more than just giving experience and flavor is quite important. How we integrate this internally, one of the first department that I created when I joined the group is actually a corporate planning department. To date, we have 4 person who are statistician, who are graduates of math and statistics courses. They're not chefs. They're not in marketing. They're not in design, but they're in data. In our own way, we try to be as scientific as possible. So having that corporate planning group where our team looks into all sorts of metrics, from food costs all the way to consumer insights. We have different methodology that we do inside the company to evaluate which strategy works, which menu works. Though we are still on an early stage, but that's how committed we are to drive our concepts with meaningful insights, with data that we can support. On the pictures, as you can see, we have ladies who drink wine, a little bit of sharing. This is one of the driver when we created our food hall concepts. In the food hall, where you have multiple tenant, multiple concepts inside. The insight that we get here is you want to have fun with your friends, to go dine out, you want to have drink, but not all the time you can agree on what cuisine or what food you want to eat. What's common is that wine bottle that you want to drink. So when we created the food hall, we tried to remove some compromises. In food court, you compromise on the experience of dining on a pleasant table and chair, and the type of service that you get. And this is something that we put into place in the food hall. We have a cookie shop that we've developed a dog cookie because our data told us that our customers are into pets, and they have dogs, and they love their dogs, treat it as part of the family. And when they go out to dine, not all restaurants would welcome them. So aside from welcoming them inside the store, we level it up. We created something for the pets to eat. So this is just some of the example on how we address pain points in creating concepts. A few of the case study that I want to share with you on our homegrown concepts. We also have our own ramen place. We are Asian, but we are not Japanese, so ramen is not created by us. Um, but this is a concept about 5 years already, more than 5 years already. So 5 years ago, we created our first ramen shop. The name of the shop is Wrong Ramen. And it's not a surname, a Chinese surname or a Japanese surname. It's literally meant wrong ramen. It's not the definition of not correct. It's the wrong ramen. It's interesting how this came about. We don't have Hana Maruken ramen back then. In fact, we find it very hard to convince Hana Maruken to come to work with us. So out of our love for ramen, our frustration to have our own ramen brand, we created our own, and we tried to make it very different. When we conceptualized Wrong Ramen, the insights here is this is the period when everyone was talking about authenticity, when everyone was talking about where they come from, what's their origin, their recipes, an heirloom recipe. And I think a lot of that causes some fatigue to the customer. And it drowns out some uniqueness to new operators coming in because they're going to be probably telling the same story. So when we created Wrong Ramen, we intended to be inauthentic. So as you can say, we are authentically inauthentic. We have created dishes, we have created food that is not the usual ramen, and we poke fun into it. We embrace it. We did not hesitate. So we use humor, we use wit to position ourselves and appeal to be an honest and unpretentious in the ramen scene, and people love it. This restaurant have had loyal followers, um, and we even in our marketing, in our communication, as you can see, we embrace it. One of poster would read, "Right ramen is made by Japanese cooks. Wrong ramen is made by idiots who think they're better than Japanese cooks." This type of humor allows us to be who we are. And so we have created a menu where the traditional ramen would not be. We have a bacon and fried egg instead of a runny egg. We still do have some of the traditional ramen, but the highlight is on the unusual concoctions that we have created. But to disclose to you also, we have recently temporarily closed our Wrong Ramen. And why we did it is another example of how we think about brands. This has been extremely successful for us, but we think that we are overstretching the concept already. It's becoming irrelevant. So the management have decided to close it for a while. We've actually created some sort of drama a few months ago when we closed this. Even the news have covered us when we closed this. Even the Authentic Ramen Shop have tweeted about us to give tribute when Wrong Ramen was closed. But we're actually moving this to a new location. We're not telling anyone yet. So probably be the one of the few person who know. But we this is how we understand how we would try to build a brand that is long lasting. We cannot allow it to go stale. In as much as we have novelty when we build it, we understand that we need to prolong it, and hence drastic things have to be done. So it's difficult because it's making money, and yet we have to close it. But of course, the intention is to bring it back again as a stronger brand. Okay. The next case study is Scout's Honor. So if the insights here is, of course, started from cookie. It's an inspiration from Girl Scout cookies. We have a partner chef who is one of the top pastry chef in Manila. Unfortunately, moves to Sydney, Australia, about a few months ago. But we remain partners, and we retain the legacy of the Scout's Honor restaurant. Scout's Honor is one of the fastest restaurant chain that we have right now. To date, we're ending up about 9 branches by end of this year, and 3 of those we have opened this year alone. So we started as a cookie, but we evolve it to offer comfort food, to offer familiar food, and this is mid to low market. This is about familiarity. This is about family. The concept is about honesty, which is about boys scouting, quality, and inclusivity. We serve craft cookies, comforting hot meals, and it's a place for the whole family. We are one of the few restaurant pastry concepts in Manila that freshly bakes cookies. We send to our restaurant a frozen dough, and they bake it on site. Then we have the rice meals, the typical Filipino breakfast rice meals. So it's an all-day breakfast dining, and of course, beverages. What's very interesting for us when we created Scouts Honor, we're sort of creating a theme park. We're sort of creating that ideal place for kids, a very wholesome place. One of the key feature is our craft section. So we have a craft your own mac and cheese, craft milk, and craft your own cookie. You You can select from a variety of toppings that you can choose, and have the our pastry staff bake it the way you like it, chewy, crunchy. But craft has been an element of the brand that we introduce, where our customer can get to participate in and express themselves. So we have a cookie bar. This is actually version 1.0. We're not happy with what we did with our cookie bar. We're working now on a 2.0, where the craft becomes the center of the cookie concept, and not just the cookie, but also with milk and with the mac and cheese. Because we're a family dining place, we offer some board games. I'm sorry for the image of the board games. It's not that good, because people always take away our board games as a souvenir or for themselves. So I never get to have a really good display of the board games. And then, of course, being a family-friendly, part of the modern family right now in society is having pets. That's why we have the dog cookies we created, and we are very much pet-friendly restaurant. Well, as long as the mall allows us to have dogs inside and cats. So Scouts Honor, this is one of our first branches. It's very friendly. It's very wholesome, with a hint of outdoor, of camping. So that's why we also promote board games. We wanted this to be an offline feel. This is one of the latest restaurants that we're opening down south. Okay, then jumping to food halls. So that's Scouts Honor. For food halls, this is a group of stalls of different food tenants that we have curated. I think that's one of the key words, it's a curation. And the challenge here is, because this is nothing new in Manila. In fact, it evolved to so many forms. We have the food park, where you have an alfresco, a container van that's outside on the street. I believe you have that also in your country. And there's quite a lot, actually, that's sprouted in Manila. So how to create the next level food hall is quite challenged. And for every brand that we created, we look for powerful insights. And what we have here is conversations. We want the restaurants to foster conversations among the guests. So we believe that the concept should have good food, happy company, and a lovely place, a lovely space. And we needed to design the space that is timeless, not trendy, not too faddish. And the concept is revolving around developing a food hall for prominent chefs. It's quite unheard of for a chef to be part of a food hall. Of course, they wanted to have their own names, with their own restaurant, inline restaurant, with their names on the signage. But here it's part of our challenge to convince them to be part of that marketplace. Probably I'll just move over the slides to show you different pictures. So this is the food hall that we open in the grid. It's already operating. And this is the second food hall that we're operating, a joint venture with the mall. Okay, it's inspired from a train station, and it's all about the people. It's a bigger food hall, which will open by end of the year. It's called Public Eatery. Okay, that's it.
It was very inspiring and insightful. And this also goes for the contribution of Philip. So I would now like to invite the others to come back as well. Thank you so much again for the very interesting insights. I think we can conclude from these contributions that It doesn't matter if you are in the cool Nordics or in the hot tropics. There is a lot of potential for creative businesses to get involved in gastronomy. And I think it's also interesting to mention that in Denmark, the food and gastro sector is even officially part of creative industries, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
and now I would suggest that we continue with the questions, because I've seen that there are quite a lot already. The first one is for Philip. It's quite easy, actually. The question is, what's the name of the two renowned restaurants in Copenhagen?
So you're saying the most renowned restaurants?
No, I mean the two you have mentioned in your contribution. I think you spoke Noma and Relais. Is that right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, so I think this answers the question. So my second question is, I think it's for the both of you, for Roel and for Philip. How do your design processes go about? Do you brief the designers if you are working on a concept, or are they completely free to give inputs and to develop their brands? Or do you have a central like person who takes care of that and who has the handwriting?
Roy, you want to go first?
Okay. For our end, yes, we do brief our designer, but we give them some liberty on making suggestion. It's more collaborative. There's really no one formula, but we tend not to dictate. But it always has to be justifiable in terms of numbers, in as much as we can. But there's liberty on giving as much creativity on their works.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, for us was so far, Slurp as well as informal. The big difference is then like who you choose your work with, and they all have the very unique style, and we want to embrace that. So we don't want to give them too many, we don't want to brief them and say, this is what we want. We rather approach them in a way of like saying, okay, we know your style, we know what you do, so go with it. These are just a few key points which you should keep in mind, but then we really just want to see what you come up with. So to answer the question, we try to keep it very, very creative and very open.
Great. And another question is, I assume you are also open to collaborate with Austrian designers or creative entrepreneurs, and what is the best way to approach you, and how would that go about? Should they write you an email or give you a call?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, anybody
shoot it. Yes. Yeah, email is best. I don't know if we can like show the email address in somewhere. If there's any graphic designers or something which you want to share something, would love to see. Be cool. Yes.
Wonderful.
Yeah, likewise in Manila, we'd love to collaborate.
Great. That's good news. Another question. We have been talking about social media a bit. And Philip mentioned that Instagram is a very important channel for him to promote his enterprise. Is this the main channel, or do you also use other social media? And if not, why did you decide to work with Instagram?
Speak for us. Well, Instagram is said is free. It's so approachable. Everybody spends so much time. If you have an iPhone, you take the screen time, like it's hours we waste, I would say, on these channels, Instagram in particular, and it's way more approachable. Twitter is a fun way to communicate as well. What do you think about Twitter? Do you guys use Twitter a lot?
Not much in Manila. We are a Facebook and Instagram country. More Facebook, actually. Yeah. And YouTube.
Oh, YouTube.
Yeah.
Oh.
There's a lot of vloggers here in Manila that we invite, the vloggers that who does short videos about that. So that's quite a big investment also for us.
Cool. Do you guys have your own channel?
No. Aside from our corporate website, of course, on the Facebook and Instagram, each of our concept would have their own account. Instagram, because food is very visual, so it's a primary account for us. But in terms of engagement, it would be in Facebook, where we could talk to the customers. But you know, for at least for the Philippines, and especially for operating F&B, Facebook goes beyond just promoting. It's actually a place where people complain. So it's something that we try to manage as much as possible, because it's a make or break platform. And as much as you can curate what you wanted to put there, and so is everyone else. And so it's a double-edged sword for the social media. But I agree with you, it's a very important platform for us. But aside from that, at least in the Philippines, we have a big delivery apps. We have food platform, food apps like Zomato, Bookie, because you know, in Manila, mobility is a problem. So in as much as we have so many branches, but not all people will find it convenient to go there. So the big business here right now is food delivery. And so people get to engage and experience food via that platform. So aside from social media, those apps are now becoming helpful for us. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Another question that was already posed by Philip before, and I'm also very interested to hear your opinion, Roel. How do you see the future of restaurants and of gastronomy? What is your vision, and where do you see yourself in 10 years' time?
Okay. There's a supply and demand side perspective. When you look at the supply side, at least for us, where we have so many different concepts and so many different talent in Manila, we see a lot of emerging chefs, and some of them are not even formally culinary trained, that just needed a break, just needed an exposure for people to reach out to them. Social media have done a lot for them. But one concrete example that we have in one of our food hall, the Grid in Rockwell, which is an upscale food hall, we had the prominent chef having stalls there, but the top seller is not even a chef. It's a couple who have a very small shop on weekend markets with just a tent, who's selling lobster roll. And consistently from the time we opened there, the top sellers there. So the realization is the future is where we can allow us, where we should have a platform, whether it's an online or an offline platform, where we can allow people to discover food. In the same way how content is being delivered before with traditional media, where it is curated by media company. And then when the social media comes in, you don't actually being pushed with content anymore. You discover content. It's the other way around. You're not just recipient of a content. And so now it could be social media that could help the supply side, the emerging talents out there, the emerging flavors to be discovered, or the delivery apps that I've mentioned, or an offline platform like a food hall, where there a small capital expenditure versus opening your own big resto would allow you to be exposed more. On the demand side, at least in the Manila, where it's highly urbanized right now, mobility is a big issue. When you build a restaurant, it's whether you have a good transport system, it's not a problem there on your side of the globe. But for us, we're gonna suffer this for the next 20, 30 years. And even if you have cars, you can drive around. Every restaurant now will have to think about parking lots. That's another problem. They can go there, but they cannot park. They cannot eat on your restaurant. So that's in a way a problem on the demand side that we have to fix. So more and more that we're actually thinking that the food should be going to the customer right now. Instead of the customer going to the food, it's becoming more ubiquitous. I don't know how it will happen, but the pain point is very, very clear. Yeah.
Thank you very much. What is your vision about for the future, Philip? So you already mentioned this is a question that is really hard to answer, but where do you see yourself in 10 years' time?
I mean, it's, as said, I really don't have an answer. What I think might happen is that like there's a bigger disconnect between us humans. We spend so much time on our phones. We build up a relationship with our phones. The question is like, where do we actually spend time with each other? Where do we actually connect with each other? Where do we actually start talking with each other? And I mean, I know it now from WeWork, that's something which they highly, what they highlight to say, well, in the future, where we do spend time together and where we connect, it's at work. But I would also say the same thing, and even way more intimate, that's the case for restaurants. I think these are places where people meet. And so when I think about the future of restaurants, I see them as something way more open, way more, they need to be there to connect people again and to have time to sit down to eat together and to have true human experiences. So restaurants need to be, when we talk about the future of restaurants, no robots, but humans. But enable the humans so they can do a better job and run a better, more efficient business.
Thank you.
And in Copenhagen, mobility is a bit less of an issue than in Manila because we also ride our bikes.
Right.
Thanks. I have another question for Philip. Would you say your business model and strategy are unique for the Danish ecosystem? Because you are working in such a fruitful city when it comes to gastronomy, or do you think there are universal lessons that can be applied in Austria, for example, as well?
Right. Yeah. I don't think it's really unique to Copenhagen. I really hope that what we do, you can do some RAS as well, because it's at the end of the day the same exact thing what we did with ramen, right? Ramen is ultimately Japanese, but you just take the techniques and like bring some RAS and then use the ingredients you have from around and like try to like create something that's still similar but resembles the unique landscape we're in. And I think the same goes now with marketing and everything else, like with our business case in general, that you take some of the things we do here and you bring them somewhere else. You always have to adjust. You can't just copy. But I do 100% believe that yes, you can take a lot of the learnings and what we did here and like apply to Austria and Vienna as an example.
Thank you very much. Another question came in. How important is the cooperation with the food industry when it comes to innovation, security, and so forth?
Okay. For our side of the world, regulation is not as efficient and as stringent as you have there. It has a pros and cons. It's good that we're more free to do a lot of things unregulated, but at the same time, it also poses a threat, whether it's as simple as a food poison or importation of raw material coming from unreliable sources. So I think the industry right now should be looking in how to professionalize further, at least for emerging and developing countries like us, where it's not that well articulated how this industry would be sustainable. And that's also one key word. It's the sustainability issue. In Europe, you talk about a lot on food waste. Here, not much conversation about that. Because but it doesn't mean that it's not happening. It is happening. We are on a very early phase of sustainable issue discussion on sustainable issue. Like we just recently passed a law that you cannot use plastic straw and plastic bag, but it's very, very new, and it's quite a novelty right now. Then aside from those regulations that would help sustain the industry, I think in terms of talent, that's one area where the industry needed to help with each other. You know, Manila, we don't have a Michelin star that came from here, but we have a lot of mouth to feed, and we're growing even economically. So we import a lot of these concepts, but it's also good that we can create our own to contribute to the world of F&B, and also to a very simple point of creating more talent to sustain F&B. It's very difficult to hire good people right now in F&B. Aside from the industry is growing, everyone's competing for the same resources. We are exporting a lot of our talent outside of Manila. A lot of them are, you know, overseas Filipino workers. So there's some sort of a brain drain that's happening right now, and we're feeling it. Not just for mid-sized company like us, but even small company is feeling the resources that we're missing, and that the supply of this talent is just not enough to sustain growth. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, we have now come to the end of this very inspiring and insightful webinar because time is out. I would like to thank you, all the four of you, for all the interesting contributions. It was really, really great, and I've learned a lot, and I hope this also goes for the audience. And also, speaking about the audience, many thanks to you as well for being so active and for posing so many questions. Any questions that were left unanswered will be answered individually after the webinar. We will send you an email. And well, thank you so much again. I hope we will see each other again on November 14th at our next webinar, this time live from Barcelona. And we will inform you in time about the details and the content. So thank you to Manila and to Copenhagen for your great participation. And well, have a wonderful day. Let's stay in touch and see you soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mabuhay.
Bye.